Oh, but I can't check.
City Council meeting is called to order.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. Can we verify the recording is on?
Oh, yes.
It was not on last time.
At our workshop meeting. Yes. Well, it's on tonight. Okay. Call to order. Let's see. Present we have tonight Mr. Boersma, Mr. Hicks, Mr. Henry, Mr. Stormore, Deputy Mayor Mr. Guerrero, myself, and we seem to be missing Mr. Rustucci. I don't remember if he, yes.
He had some time ago asked for an excused absence, which we granted him.
Okay, fix him up.
Yeah, I think
Thank
he's
you.
out for some of his state responsibilities tonight.
For the transformation bill, okay. You're right, I do recall him saying that. Okay, so at this point, I'm scanning the audience, see if I have a likely suspect, and I don't see one. So at this point, let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, we have unscheduled appearances by citizens. Citizens are advised that they must limit their remarks to the council to 3 minutes, and if the items presented may be referred by council to staff for review and or addition of information for presentation to the council at a future council meeting. Do we have anyone wishing to make some statements?
Good evening. I'd like to speak on behalf of...
Please do state your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nick Palakis, Sunnyside. I'd like to speak on behalf of public safety this evening. There has been a nasty rumor that has gone around, and I've had a number of taxpayers, voters, that have come to me and said that they have heard that there is either whether it's the city council or whoever is going to do this, but they have heard that there is the idea of cutting back on firefighters, the idea of cutting back on police officers, the first responders, and I have assured these voters that our elected officials would never be as careless to sacrifice our safety here in Sunnyside. The public safety seems to be one of those things that always comes under fire whenever there is a budget downside. It always seems to be public safety. And so just in light of a couple of the facts, I went online and I have from the Census Department, and I can make these available to you if you'd like. They made a nice little chart about the city growth. They also have it in number-wise here that city growth has constantly gone up. In fact, last year it has gone up 0.35%. The year before it has gone up 0.79%, 0.45% the year before that. So obviously the city is on the increase as far as population. We are trying to bring in new industries. We're trying to bring in new businesses. We have different things that are opening now. And certainly with the increase of more folks coming in, then we would need an increased representation from both the fire department and from the police department. When I think of just the high school itself, or let's just talk about the school district, as it is right now, there are 6,741 students in our school district. There are 2,063 at the high school alone. With the way things are going and with the businesses that are coming in and people are having larger families, we know that those numbers are only going to increase. So that being said, I'm here and I have talked with an awful lot of people about this, about the fact that we cannot sacrifice our city's public safety by cutting back on either fire department officials or in the police department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kelly Hampton. I live in Sunnyside. I would like to address the recent discussion of the cuts within the police and fire department as well. Since 2010, the crimes in Sunnyside have decreased. The diligence of our city officials and our police force, as well as our fire department, is a key factor in this positive direction for our city. With continued growth, our city cannot afford to cut either of these entities. Doing so would definitely hinder the promotion of growth to new businesses and residents. If anything, we need to increase our forces and stay diligent and continue the positive decrease in crime we've seen from 2010 to 2016 and protect against the flare-ups of crime and violence happening recently throughout many areas of our country. This morning, I did a quick little Google search and just put in Sunnyside, Washington crime rate, and this is the following, quote-unquote. The chance of becoming a victim of either violent or property crime in Sunnyside is 1 in 35. Based on FBI crime data, Sunnyside is not one of the safest communities in America. Relative to Washington, Sunnyside has a crime rate that is higher than 65% of the state's cities and towns of all sizes. And this comes from neighborhoodscout.com. In closing, I believe that decreasing our police force and our fire force would be a step backwards in addressing and positively changing the above statistics. We need to strive to build a stronger community with the health of both our police and fire department. This will ensure that our community's growth is a vibrant and healthy one. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other speakers this evening?
Good evening. My name is Tony Vega of the EIGA. Excuse me. Our family, we've been residents here for 37 years. We've seen the changes in Sunnyside to be positive regarding public safety. Our police and fire departments are second to none. And having lived here for many years, the city department has had many challenges in keeping the peace from threats of gang activity as well as drive-by shootings. I'm here to support the local first responders for the brave work that they do and taking charge of these catastrophic emergent situations that seem to occur in almost any city. Any cuts to the first responders, particularly police, would lengthen the response times, increase in overtime hours, and add terrible fatigue to the first responders themselves, putting their lives at risk. I support the Chief Escalera, for his leadership in the department, and I believe he's done a great job. Any layoffs whatsoever would decrease public safety, and I believe from my past enforcement experience that this is the wrong way to approach a budget. Thank you.
Larry Hill, Sunnyside. A few months back, I spoke and said, where are the people to talk about public safety and coverage for the fire department and all city employees? But I was concerned about those two individual groups. I know everybody's important. I know you hate to see anybody get laid off or anybody lose their position that protects this city. Several years ago, the citizens, just like always, in this audience came and spoke, said they were willing to pay whatever the cost for overtime, whatever the cost for keeping the city safe. They are authorized for new hires. They are authorized to buy new police cars for those hires, and took a while to get them on board to protect the city. And you see a lot of people in this audience, and a lot of them police officers and firefighters, they want to protect their jobs and they want the city protected, and the community wants it protected. At that time, like I said, the taxpayers were willing to pay whatever cost that was necessary. They were willing to do, and they had to raise the utility tax. It went from 6% to 18%. And it wasn't followed through enough over the years to raise the cost of expenses for these departments, so they were covered. They were willing to pay it. They're still willing to pay it. Now I understand we might be going as high as 50% on the utility tax, and I understand the fire department probably going up on the household tax to close to $17 a month on the water bill. And I'm noticing there's a lot of things in there to be voted on for the fire department. I'm not against it. I don't understand it all, but I understand it must be a necessity to cover the cost for operation and everything. But like I said, I thought then, where was all the people in the audience? Well, they're here tonight, and they're going to be jumping on you to make a good decision for this community and not lose the help we got. We don't need to have shootings like we had in my neighborhood a month ago. We don't need AK-47 going off in our neighborhood and endangering this community. And we're going to have bodies laying on the street again if you start laying off people. My understanding last week in the paper, there was city manager said there wouldn't be any layoffs according to the comments in the paper, and it was going to be covered. But apparently it isn't getting well said, because at least in the audience right here, we see people sitting here wondering if they're going to have a job, or if they're going to have to look someplace else for a job. And it takes too much training to get them retrained if you put them back on again, or try to even find them again, because they won't come back. And people won't come back here to work if you lay them off, then you also have to find the money somewhere else to hire them, and we got to pay all that money out. It takes over $150,000 to train one officer.
Mr. Your
So
time.
that's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Don't lose them.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Elizabeth Garcia, and I have a little story for you. 2 weeks ago, I was tutoring after school in my classroom when suddenly we got a lockdown drill, and it was not a drill. Someone had shot into a group of students across the street just 20 minutes after the school bell had rung. We have seen an increase in gang activity, gang violence, and guns. In my own classroom, I see students fight over the number 14 calculator, the number 14 iPad, the red dry erase marker. I've been in the school district 12 years, and I've started to see an increase in gangs and gang activity. We can't expect our police department or our public service to do more with less. As public elected officials, I ask that you consider and represent the needs of our community. Properly trained police officers and armed, constantly recertified public servants are an investment to our community. If you plan to see growth financially by cutting our public safety department, the only growth you'll see is an increase in violence, an increase in guns, and an increase in gangs, and less people wanting to do business in Sunnyside. And thank you to all those public service people that are here today and not here today. I greatly appreciate all the selfless acts that you do for us. Thank you.
My name is Eva Ramos. I'm a resident here long time, since the 80s, and growing up here in high school was amazing. But we didn't have the luxury of having police officers like we do now. It's a job of my daughter at the high school. I I know that she's safe, knowing that there's a police officer car parked out there. And nevertheless, I also own my business, and I feel safe, not only living here, but working here, having my business established here, with the workforce that we have as a community that the public safety has. I know what it takes to run a business, and I know that the PD and the fire department also run a business like a business. And sometimes you have to pay overtime, but that's to make the job done right. You got to get it done before you leave. And a lot of times I go over my budget, but I have to make sure that my girls perform, and nobody's leaving until we get the job done right. And I'm sure that a lot of businesses here, including the PD and the fire departments, believe the same. They don't leave until the job gets done. Nevertheless, I'm also a taxpayer, and I have no problem with the taxes going up to continue to have safety in my community. I can't imagine having a wildfire like California is here in Sunnyside and not having the fire department be here to help and keep us safe. So I ask you to consider the avenues, including the taxes raising up. I have no problem as a business owner and as a resident here. Remember, at the end of the day, when your folks are not reelected or you choose not to come back, we still live here and we still choose to run a business here. If the marijuana recreation store gets approved, we need to definitely have an increase in the fire department. So please consider that before you make any cuts. Thank you.
The others?
Well, I'm Christopher Sparks. Been with the Sunnyside PD since 2007. I'm coming up here to speak today. The last time I came up here to speak to you guys, there's a couple issues on the table that strike me very personally. Number one, I was in these young officers' shoes back in 2009. I was 6 months from a deployment, and the council was looking to lay officers off. And, you know, I know budgets can be seen several years in advance. And if we had the same two bottom officers on the payroll for 5 years or so, I can maybe see what's going on here. But this is something that we've seen for several years coming, and we still chose to hire these people and bring them to the community. And they've invested in this department and this community, their livelihoods and their lives. And I think it's just very bad form to lay them off after they've chosen to do such a thing very recently. They haven't been here very long. And it was the same situation for me. I had just been hired in 2007, and in 2009 they were looking to lay me off 6 months before deployment. So that's the note I wanted to make on that. And the other note is the SRO program, and this is my first year in the program, but it goes beyond that. Like, the reason I'm here as a police officer today is because of the influence that my student resource officer had in me to mentor me and bring me along and teach me the right way to do things. And I know that, and I've only been in this job a couple months, but I want you to know that I'm already making connections with kids. There's certain kids that will talk to me that won't talk to the teachers, that probably wouldn't talk to a patrol officer. And you can't quantify that. In a day and age where communities expect more community policing and more outreach and more officers getting involved in community events, the SRO program is our number one area to do those things in our police department. And I think it's doing a tremendous disservice that you can't quantify to the town when you're taking that personal connections you can get with our younger generation moving on up. They're going to become adults, and those adults will be more likely to trust the police, to trust public officials, and call in crimes when they see them, or to do the right thing when nobody's looking. So I just think that's something you guys should take to heart and think about, those two things. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Kathy Kelly, and I reside in Sunnyside. Good evening, Deputy Mayor Hart, City Manager Day, and the Council. First, I want to express my appreciation for the work that you do for the community of Sunnyside. This is a thankless job, and I know it's time-consuming and challenging. I come before you tonight to ask some questions and share some thoughts with you. I was recently out of town for about a month, and upon my return, I learned of the budget crisis, which I now understand may not be quite as significant as originally thought. But I want to express my concern at the significant cuts proposed to the Sunnyside Police Department in light of the budget shortfall. First, I want to acknowledge that when budget cuts are necessary, it is a real challenge to determine what is necessary and what is not. In my opinion, given our community dynamics at this time with the gang issues on the rise again, the police department is not the place to begin cuts. We have watched the cycle of gang behavior numerous times in our community. One might think this is just cyclic, but honestly, this cycle is predicted. If you cut police force, you will see a rise in crime. If we were at a place where crime was at an all-time low, I might understand proposing some cuts to the department, but we're not there. For the past 6 years, I've worked closely with the police department and found them to be very supportive of the efforts to help kids, as well as address behaviors when they need to be addressed. It's the three-legged stool: prevention, intervention, and suppression. They need all three legs are needed in order to work to address problems effectively. If you shorten one or two of the legs, the stool is off balance and problems arise. Taking care of the city, which you are tasked with, is not only about budget, but about a variety of other things. Many entities I've worked with have worked hard to bring us back from the days when people were afraid to come to Sunnyside. I worked here when we brought trainers to the school and they asked if I felt safe there. This does not happen any longer. Our community has become a positive place to be. My questions to you: have you thought about unintended consequences of making cuts to the police department? Is this just a budget issue? If it is, you may balance your budget in the short term, but what may happen in the long term? Could it be a decision with significant unintended consequences? These are questions you have to struggle with. In my opinion, the police department is a very important entity in our community, and I ask you to please put significant thought into your decisions about how the department is funded. I want to see Sunnyside continue in the positive manner that it has been going. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Rhonda Mejia, and I have been a resident here of Sunnyside for over 30 years, and I have worked closely with first responders and police officers, especially when I worked as an RN at Sunnyside Hospital. About 10 plus years ago, we would see crime, shootings, drive-bys, all of that routinely, often, way too often. And the first responders were always there, police officers putting their life at risk, clearing the scene to make sure first responders came in. And nothing, it has changed. I don't have the numerical data, but it has really changed as far as the crime. When I was leaving the emergency room to do family practice, the rates had significantly come down from shootings. And I feel like the police department has done an awesome job in reducing the crime rate. I feel like cutting them and first responders is going to affect the whole community that I plan to live here another 30 plus years. I want to make sure my kids are safe. I want to make sure that our hospital staff are always safe, and having these first responders and police officers are vital. Taking them out or reducing them is going to have an impact not only on us as a community, but everyone else, because health is never promised. If we don't have first responders out there, that can be a matter of life and death minutes to count. My request is that I ask that you please do not remove them, because they are vital for all of us, as we never know when we may need them. Thank you.
Good evening, Council. I'm Troy Anderson, a longtime Sunnyside resident. I could have been a lot of places other than my hometown once I graduated from chiropractic school, but I chose to come back here, and there were a lot of people that said I was stupid. There's still some people that say that. But I'm proud to be from here, and I'm proud of the changes that have been made, and a lot of them are due to the increases in both the quantity of police officers and firemen, but also the quality. And the thing is that these guys are willing to put their lives on the line for us. But when we start saying, hey, it doesn't matter if our community is growing, it doesn't matter if business is growing, if we don't appreciate them and give them both the respect and importance that they need within the budget, because that's at the top. Public safety is, if it should be at the top of what we pay taxes for. then they'll look somewhere else where they can be appreciated. And I don't want to say that. I want to say as our community grows, the more people we have, the more officers we should have. The more people we have, the more firemen we should have. That just makes sense. To look at it any other way doesn't make any sense at all. If we have to tweak the budget, whatever we have to do to be able to keep that as a priority, I hope that we can do that. I know you guys don't have an easy job. I'm not pretending that you do. It's a tough job, and you have to make tough decisions. But at the top of that, in the priority list, and you can see it today by who's here, this is very important to all of us. Those of us who have businesses, those of us who have been here for a long time, those of us who remember the times that weren't as good as they are now, we're in a good place. And as we grow as a city, our police department needs to grow, not shrink. Our fire department needs to grow, not shrink, to take care of the increased needs. And as we do that, the city will continue to grow. And a lot of people have brought that up. If as we're growing, the police and fire department shrink, it's going to have a lot of consequences, and most of them bad. And so as you make this, as you contemplate this and make these decisions, I hope you take our opinions into account and keep this as the top of your priority. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Edward Coven. I'm a resident outside the city, but been here for 27 years, and I'm proud to call Sunnyside my home. And I recall when we first moved here in the early 90s, the graffiti was way out of hand, and that led to more problems. And in 2010 wasn't a real great year, and so the police department ramped things up and cleaned things up. And I would certainly hope that we can continue to move forward with the problems that we have here. I have confidence in our police department, and I think it has been already stated that as we grow, we need to continue to add to our police and fire departments. The thing that I'm really anxious about and looking forward to, we have some great new businesses being operated in the Port District, and I think our Port District's doing a great job bringing people in. We're looking forward to a new hospital that's going to bring some great opportunities for this community. And with all these great things happening, you look here, these people are interested in having a great city. Let's not let these people down by cutting our police or fire staff. Thank you.
My name is Greg Smith, Sunnyside resident. I'm just here to support law enforcement and our fire department. The Smith family has had the privilege of operating across the street from the fire department and police department for 67 years until the police department moved to their present location. Because of the nature of my business, I'm in and out of our facility 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it's unbelievable to me, the action that's going on at the fire department. I see that still on an ongoing basis and the way these men work. I wish I would not have had the privilege, but I've had the privilege of working with the police department in tragedies that have happened in my own family with my two children. And the professionalism and the kindness that's been given by the police officers of the city of Sunnyside is unbelievable. So I understand on a shooting basis or on a tragedy like that, these gentlemen and ladies operate at an extremely high level, and even in a personal tragedy, they also operate at an extremely high level. I personally would be very disappointed if things would change and the visibility of the officers in the police department would decrease, because I think that that's very, very important. You can't go around town that you're not running into one or two officers on patrol, and that just makes me feel good. And I consider myself a law-abiding citizen, and I appreciate that. If I wasn't, I would find some place where the police department was not as visible to do whatever it was that I wanted to do. So I think it's extremely important that not only do we have extremely professional people on staff, but their visibility is way up there, and that we see them often. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Kevin McKay, Superintendent of Schools, Sunnyside School District, and I'm resident of Sunnyside. I want to also thank and for the support of both the fire and the police department in 3 years of my tenure as superintendent. We've had great working relationships and very productive about improving not only the safety of our community, but the safety of our students and staff while they go to school. Tonight, I represent, as Nick said, over 6,700 young children who attend school in Sunnyside, close to 900 employees as well. And I also represent 5 elected officials. As a whole, I wish they were all able to be here or you could hear their voice in some way. As a whole, they would completely show the same support that I share with our local police department and our fire department, and specifically to the 2 officers that work in our schools as school resource officers. I don't know if you realize, or I don't know if anybody can really put the data to show the importance of those 2 people within our school system. It is very hard to determine that, but I can guarantee that there is a positive impact from those 2 people and people that have served in that role in the past to the betterment of our students, to the betterment of their opportunities, the betterment of our staff, and the betterment of our entire community. Last year, after we dealt with a school shooting across our nation and dealt with some very uncomfortable issues in February, we had a community meeting, and we brought parents and community members in to hear what they thought about school safety and community safety. Their number 1 response above everything else was the work of school resource officers in the school. That's what made them feel that their children were safe. Any change to that would be going against what I believe is our community would want. I would be more than happy as the district representative to continue to work with you and find solutions to this area with school resource officers and the current contractual agreement that we have with the city of Sunnyside to find a way to continue to make sure that our resource officers continue to be an integral part of our school system and our community. Thank you.
Are there any others wish to speak this time?
Hi, I'm Gary Street. I'm a longtime community member of Sunnyside, and I'm just asking the City Council to continue to support and safety in our community. Our police department and fire department are a source of pride in this community. Over the past 38 years, my wife and I have seen great changes in the community, and we attribute that to our police department and fire department. So I'm asking you to continue to fully fund those departments and not cut back. Thank you.
David Rand, Sunnyside. I've been in Sunnyside for close to 40 years now. And in 1999, I fell 27 feet. And the Sunnyside Police Department made sure I got taken care of the right way, got me to the hospital the right way. January 19th of 2017, I was hit head on, 60 miles an hour by a gentleman. And broke my back, broke my neck, beat me up pretty good. Again, Sunnyside Hospitals, Sunnyside Fire Department was there again for me. I think it was 6 weeks ago, yesterday, I had an incident because of my injuries and some problems right out here in the hallway. Again, Sunnyside Fire Department was here for me. But today, I listened to a lot of people talk about how we have a problem in finances for our community. Nobody has a has a resolution for it. They just want to tell you guys how you need to keep the police department and fire department. I have personal reasons to keep the fire department, and I got reasons to keep the police department. But I also noticed that 3 years ago, a particular council member spoke about the marijuana industry. We could take our money elsewhere. And in 3 years, I've watched my town lose revenue for 3 years. Steadily decline, Mr. Boersma, because you made that statement February 5th, 2015. Take it elsewhere. So us in the medical marijuana community and the recreational community, we've taken our business elsewhere. And it showed in our finances for our town. Everybody says a wallet speaks. Well, our wallet is speaking. And I don't see us coming back out of this very easily. I don't see anybody in this audience offering a solution. I know that I have a partial solution. My store will bring in about $250,000 to $300,000 a year for this town. But everybody speaks against it. I went to a neurologist on Friday, and I went to a second opinion on Tuesday. And both my neurologists told me, quit taking the pills. Smoke your weed, Mr. Rand. Eat them edibles. Because if you keep taking them pills, they're going to kill me. I went to Seattle yesterday. I spent $1,100 more. That store's over there. Where that money could be right here in this town. I speak to many people every day that ask me when my store can be open so that the benefits can come to this town. But it ain't going to happen. Because we don't have people that think in the future. We're not thinking the future. They're all in the past. Doctors want to sit here and say how the marijuana is bad. I have 2 neurosurgeons from Astria Hospital tell me to use marijuana. So that's where our resources are going to come from, like every other town.
Thank you. Thank you. It's time. Any others who would like to speak?
Hello. My name is Gary Moore. I'm the Safety and Security Specialist for the Sunnyside School District. I've worked for the Sunnyside School District as a security person for about 22 years this year. I've grown up here my whole life. I've lived here 50 years out of the 53 years that I've been alive. So I've seen a lot of things go on, especially through our schools. And I'd like to just speak for a second. I support the fire department and the police department, but mostly I'd like to speak about our SRO program through the schools. The SRO program, I've worked with every SRO who's worked here through the school district, and I can tell you that they make a huge difference on our kids, on our community, and, you know, just having them there every day, like a couple of the ladies have said that I've heard, dropping your kids off every day, seeing that there's somebody there. We have a great security team in our school district that we work very closely with the SROs, and I think, you know, cutting that program or not working with the school district to keep that program intact would be a very big mistake. It's just, I've seen how much these SROs that I've worked with over the years have connected with kids. And it's an amazing thing to watch, and I think if we really want to do this community straight, we have to work with the kids. We have to think about our children first, and I think that's a key thing for this community is keeping our kids on track, showing them that the police are not bad, that they're good, caring people that are there to help them. And, you know, if we just need to make sure that we keep this program intact, and I hope that we can do so by working together with the school district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Kyle Southwick, and I live in Sunnyside. A few weeks ago, my daughter rode the bus to school. She came home and told me of a high schooler riding on the bus who offered weed in return for another student's seat. With no pot shop in town, one is left to wonder where the student came up with this weed to offer this other student. The answer is staring us all right in the face in this way that no one here has addressed save very few people. The lower valley gangs operate very well thanks to their free and unchecked reign on the drug market. Being that cannabis is the largest and most readily available drug in the world outside caffeine, nicotine, and alcohol, the gangs in the area will continue to operate in such fashion for the foreseeable future. I hear it time and time again that our children are our most precious resource, yet I only see one way to combat the likes of Northside Barrio 14, Lower Valley Low Coats 13, Bell Garden Low Coats 13, and the West Side Los Bandoleros, who are our youth's largest threat, and that is with the money that our city does not have. While these gangs do produce and distribute weed, they also, right alongside cannabis, produce and distribute cocaine and heroin, and it gets put directly into the hands of our kids. Every naysayer to lift in the ban says that opening a pot shop will only hurt our community. Every single one of these naysayers fails to say how. At best, they vaguely associate a pot store opening to more pot on the streets. It's easy for an uneducated mind to make this leap, but in the end, it's just an assumption. Our city is in dire straits financially. Last session, a member of our community had chastised this council for cutting the police budget, but offered no recourse other than to hire more police officers. How can we hire more police officers for no money? Present in the meeting were two of Sunniside's largest employers, one of whom spoke against lifting the ban. Would this person be willing to foot the bill? What about the community member who said we need to hire more officers? Will he be willing to pay for it? What about the school board member who spoke against lifting the ban last month? Perhaps you would be willing to give up some of the operating budget to offset the deficit so the city can hire new officers. Sunnyside Christian School spoke against the ban. Maybe they'll foot the bill. I could go on and on, but the bottom line is that there isn't one of these naysayers against the ban who has the ability to either hire new officers or fix the city financials. A councilman misquoted someone last month saying that if people are going out of town to purchase cannabis, they know deep down that it's wrong. That is grossly misleading. People go out of town not because they know it's wrong, but because they know that there are bullies in this town who won't blink twice to fire someone in their employ whom they find using cannabis. Which is why I literally had to bite my tongue last session to keep from laughing out loud when the business owner I mentioned earlier said 100% of his employees are absolutely against opening the pot shop. Of course they are. His workers aren't stupid. They know darn well if they speak the truth, they will get canned. Open the pot shop. There's no other way to fix our problems.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Jennifer Rand. I'm a resident here in Sunnyside. As David mentioned earlier, I would like to talk about the public hearing on February 5th, 2015, where Mr. Boersma stated that marijuana can be legally obtained in nearby cities. I cannot believe for a second that it's a hardship, because I count the amount of times that the average family goes either to Tri-Cities or Yakima in a given week. And stopping in Prosser or Union Gap is not going to cause any extra hardship. I mean, we're talking about people that will go to Kellogg, Idaho to buy their pickups. This is a direct quote from that meeting. According to the most recent census, 24.5% of our community lives in poverty. I find it difficult to believe these families are traveling to Yakima or Tri-Cities on a weekly basis, as Dean suggested. I personally took offense that our own council encouraged our spending in Yakima and Tri-Cities instead of our own community, in a time we knew we had real financial concerns. Many of my friends and family are local business owners, and I personally would rather spend local and support my own community. David Rand, Sunnyside's state-licensed marijuana retailer, is very influential in the marijuana community. After the public hearing in February of 2015, many marijuana patients turned to him and asked for guidance. He advised to follow Dean Boersma's advice until his store was legal to open. If we were being told to go to other cities, we were going to make the most out of those trips. The money we normally would spend in Sunnyside now gets spent in our neighboring cities that allow the retail sales. So instead of a quick trip to Walmart in Sunnyside, we'll swing by Shopko and Prosser. Instead of our local Ace, we might as well go to Lowe's and Union Gap, right? Not to mention the mom and pop shops in Sunnyside. How about the money we spend on lunch while we're out of town? That's, after all, what our council member expected us to do, right? Now we are seeing that the retail sales tax income in Sunnyside is down. Would we expect an increase after our own council represented that we shouldn't worry about business here when Yakima and Tri-Cities are so accessible? The city of Sunnyside has seen a 3-year steady decline in sales revenue. It appears that the peasants of Sunnyside have taken Mr. Borsman's advice and spent their money in our neighboring cities while getting their medical and recreational supplies. I think we definitely need to look at different ways to increase our budget. I'd love to keep the police. I'd love to continue to feel safe with my daughter at high school. She was there during that school, during the shooting outside the school, and she came home in hysterics because she was in the commons and told to run. And it scared the living daylights out of her. So yes, I would love to keep these school resource officers, but where are we going to find the money?
Thank you. Thank you. Is there any other citizens who'd like to come forward to speak at this time? I thank you all for your comments. This time we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have on our consent agenda the usual of the payroll vouchers, the approval of claim vouchers, and is there anything there that speaks to anyone that we need to double check? Like I see you have some sort of motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Sorry, who was the second?
Borsman got it.
All right. Any debate? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Active agenda. We have. Oh, excuse me. Does any opposed signify by the same sign? Hearing none, the motion carries. Thank you. Got a little ahead of myself here. Sorry about that. Okay. So on our active agenda this evening, we have the fire and EMS billing services. Request to authorize the city manager to negotiate and enter into a professional service agreement / business associate agreement with Systems Design West to provide fire and EMS billing services to the city of Sunnyside. Mr. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen, Chief Anderson has done some research and crunched some numbers and believes that we can improve efficiencies and increase collections by going with an outside billing firm. We currently have this done in-house, and I believe he reported a week ago or 2 weeks ago that we're down to less than 50% collections or somewhere there. And so before you this evening is a contract with, I can't remember the company's name now that we're going to go with, Systems Design West, I believe. And to do that, we did look at 3 different companies. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Chief Anderson for some additional information.
Mayor, council members, thank you. I think Mr. Day pretty much touched on the whole thing. As you know, we do bill for ambulance service in the city. A large portion of our budget actually, by billing, that's what keeps our ambulance utility down where it is. So basically, as a result, we did reach out to 3 different organizations. One was based in California. They looked at our numbers. They were wanting a 25% commission fee. We looked at another one that based out of Omaha, Nebraska. They felt that they could help us as well improve. They believe that they could improve our collection rate at least by 10%. With that, though, they also wanted a 10% commission fee. Systems Design West is based in Washington State. They are very familiar with this GEMT program that we entered into earlier a few months ago. And part of the deal is they actually came up with a flat fee rate of $23 per transport. We send them the information. We would do all this completely electronically. The thing about them is they're in state. They're very familiar with state laws and regulations. And right now they've been in business 27 years in this state. They serve, I think they believe it's a little over 200 fire departments across the state. They're the largest commercial third-party biller in the state. We did attend, Chief Harris and myself attended a seminar that they provided in Tukwila on Thursday. And we did find that our current practices are quite outdated. And as a result, I think we probably would benefit quite a lot if we went with this. If we go with this, and my recommendation would be that we allow Mr. Day to negotiate and potentially enter into a professional service agreement with that company.
Any questions? Mr. Forsley.
I'm just wondering if you can give us like a percentage of the amount of savings that we'd be able to realize from this.
Sure. Going off finance director's numbers that we received on that budget hearing a few weeks, the big one. Basically, it was somewhere along the lines of 26,000. That company overall, we believe, based off of we're anticipating about 3,000 calls this year, 2019 rather. Of those, probably about 1,400 will be transports. At $23 each, it was in the ballpark of $41,000 rounded off. Right now, to do those services in-house, it's costing us $66,000. And so basically, it'd be about $25,000 savings in the short term. With that, however, I will say this. So that position would, we did, like I said, we went to this thing in Tukwila. We'll have to maintain some of that transition. That'll be about a 2-month transition, 60 days, they said, about transition to get it all switched over if we go that route. Thank you.
A question. If we go with these guys and we find out that they are not quite what we expect, it sounds like they have a lot of experience, so I don't anticipate this happening. But if that was the case, is there a termination fee? Is there like a month by month that we can do, or is it like a 1-year contract? How does that work?
My recommendation was that we go into a 1-year renewal, where we have the option to renew it or break it or do whatever we want to do at the end of the year. One of the challenges that I found is with the weakness with having it in-house at this point is the reporting portion. We entered into that, we entered into that agreement with the state to get that Medicaid refund. It's been a tremendous challenge. I remember we entered into PSA with AP Triton to sort of do that. Gathering the data has been quite a little bit of a challenge. And as a result, one thing that I do see in something like this, since they're so established, that they did say that they're going to be able to provide us the reports that we really need so that we can actually make decisions that are beneficial to the organization, whether it's operational or financial. I don't see any reason right now, and it's a flat fee, so it's per transport that we submit to them. If we don't submit any calls to them, then they're not even going to charge us, but at the same time, we also won't collect anything. But so it's a fee for service, and I did not see anything in that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't see any sort of termination fee or anything.
You don't read anything. You just said a 60-day notice. I think that's what I remember seeing. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Well, I just want to say I appreciate you doing your homework on this, Mr. Anderson, and I would like to move to approve the city manager to negotiate an agreement with Systems Design West.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Hicks seconds. Is there any further debate? This is a question of savings. I think you mentioned the savings somewhere in the neighborhood of $26,000. Is that correct?
Madam Mayor, yes, that's correct.
Okay. Any other debate? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. I too vote aye. Motion carries.
Madam Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
I would like items B, E, and F removed from the agenda and put on the November 26th agenda. These are budgetary items. I'd like to go through our budget meetings on next Monday before we address these.
If we have something removed, do we need to have a motion on this?
Madam Mayor, Council, I do believe so. That's up to you. It's council's agenda. If you don't want to take any action on these items, you can do it as Mr. Strimler has presented just now, as a group decision right now, as a collectively, or you can take them one at a time. It's up to you.
So yes, I do think you have to have a decision. You have to vote on it.
I make a motion, we remove items B, E, and F to the November 26th meeting.
I'm sorry, which ones again?
Items B, E, and F. Boy, Edward Frank.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion to remove from our agenda items B, E, and F. Is there any debate? Oh, I guess I should say, no, that's right.
These are budget issues, and I would like to know more on what our budget is before we act on these. I agree with them, just that I would rather we know further what our budget is before we approve these.
Any other thoughts? Yes, Mr. Borzman.
I just think that we talked about this quite extensively at our meeting last time at the budget workshop. I thought we talked about that quite a bit. We were ready to move forward. So I'm not sure how much this would be affected by knowing something else about the budget. I know it's probably going to be in the same situation that it was the last time we talked about it, I guess is what I'm concerned about.
Well, last time I said I wouldn't be prepared to act on them until we finished the discussion on the other items on the budget, and that's my reason. I want to stick with what I had said. So at this point, I would not go along with them, whereas November 26th, I probably would.
Is there any other comments? Debate?
Madam Mayor. Obviously, thank you. Honestly, we did talk about this extensively at the last meeting, and I can agree with Mr. Bruno, obviously, that we did hash this thing out like quite a bit that day. So I did second this because I do see the value in obviously us talking about it more, because this is tax rate increases that we're going to pass on to our citizens, and it behooves us all to be able to obviously make a better informed decision based on what else comes up on the budget down the road. So I don't see a delay of a few weeks, being detrimental to our budget.
Yes, I'm saying it. Yes. Two things I wanted to just bring up. Number one is that the numbers that Elizabeth has worked on in the budget so far include these rates. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if we don't pass that, that's going to affect the budget. Okay. We had planned to bring the final budget to you this evening. Okay. We've delayed that by 2 weeks. So if we postpone this until the 26th, and I'm okay with that, I just want to give you this little word of wisdom, I guess, is that will delay the final budget. So we'll be into December, and I'm okay with that. But we only have scheduled one meeting in December, as is historically what we do, which will be the 13th. Okay? So anything else might require us to have a meeting on Christmas. And I'm just kidding. But it could delay the plan. Okay, I'm not sure I can bring you a final budget on the 26th and all of these on the 26th. Okay, because if any of these are voted down, that's an issue for us. We'll have to take that budget back. Okay, so I'll try, but I just wanted to give you that. We might have 2 meetings in December. So. But that's all we wanted to just bring to your attention.
I guess my point is, if we finalize everything pretty well at 26, which I assume we will, the regular meeting in December when we could approve the budget. I don't foresee any need for extra meetings. I just want to make sure that we have everything at all our ducks in a row at the same time.
I just want to add, obviously, that if we're going to approve these 3 different tax increases, obviously the prior meeting to that, we approved some changes, some suggestions that our finance director brought up forward, and I wanted to make sure that those are in the budget as well, because obviously we're approving the tax increases, but we want to make sure that in the budget also we have the cuts that we talked about at that meeting as well.
So if I recall right, when we were talking about the utility rate adjustment, we were just talking about going from the, I believe it was $8.28 to just double that. Is that not correct?
It's just shy of doubling.
Just shy of doubling. And as far as the stormwater increase, that was also a percentage point, which I don't quite off the top remember. Mr. Fisher?
It was a $1.90 increase per month. $375 to $565.
And then, of course, the B&O tax rate was also an increase, short increase of, do you know?
From 19% to 29%.
To 19 to 29. And all of those numbers were part of the basis of the original budget that we looked at, as far as the numbers we were moving towards. And so those numbers, as far as these rate adjustments and tax increases, aren't going to change the revenue picture, per se. Could she speak?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Day, Council. So built into the 2019 budget that you saw on the revenue side are all of these increases. So if you decide either tonight or at a meeting later in this month to not enact one of these, then we will need to go back to the table with revenues and make the adjustments down, which then also means that if expenditures are even now just close to where we're at, it means those have to come down as well. So these items were all included in the revenue estimates. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if we're digging a hole, we're digging it deeper if we do not pass the revenue side. The revenue side at least gives us a guideline to know what our target should be.
Is there any other debate?
I kind of assume that by next week, Monday, we'll have a pretty good idea of what we're going to do the 26th. I mean, we'll know even if we don't act on these until the 26th, we'll pretty well know by the end of the 19th meeting. That is my assumption. If we all get along.
Is there any other debate regarding this issue? So that being said, all those in favor of postponing or pulling from tonight's agenda items B, E, and F signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed signify same sign.
Aye. Aye.
Motion. Well, I didn't vote. I didn't vote yet.
Tiebreaker.
Sitting here holding my vote like it's a precious thing because it is, but I do think that just to say aye, they're not same sign to as doesn't break the tie though, so it just makes it 3-3, which is a different problem. So if I vote nay, then the motion fails. So let's move forward then with the we could have further debate on this if you would like. Bring it back in a different motion. People vote a nay if they have a different motion I'd like to present. So no further discussion, we'll move on to item B, ambulance utility rates or adjustment. So we're moving ahead. Mr. Manager.
Madam Mayor, Council, if I may turn this over to Chief of the Fire Department, Ken Anderson, for further discussion on this. This is a discussion to increase the ambulance utility rate.
Council members, Madam Mayor, thank you. As we laid it all out there, I went pretty in depth with it last Monday or last week, and I did. There was a couple things I do have to touch on. One of the things is right now our operational cost is we're expecting with the new cost to the tune of about $632,000 or 632, 414. Those are partly the medical services officer position that Councilor Restucci had mentioned, sort of, and we elaborated, explained. There are some potential, this is taken in consideration that there will probably be some contractual obligations currently in negotiations with the local 3542. So those are sort of built in here to address that, provided that we find ratification with that contract. Basically, and part of that was also a potential reallocation shift from 60-40% to 65-35. So with that, that would add another $632,000 onto the ambulance utility, using a little over 6,000 ERUs if we remain on the ERU system. That would actually require a rate increase of $8.26. Right now, we're currently at $8.28 in 2012. They did a rate study, or was our last rate study. That time, FCS, which was the organization that did the rate study, recommended that the utility rate increase at that time to $8.76. Today, it is still at $8.28, almost 7 years later. Looking at, Councilmember Guerrero had asked me before to reach out and try to find out what the going sort of rate was. Taking into consideration, however, there's a couple of things that affect our revenues on the ambulance side. Primarily, the first is our payer mix, whether we have a large portion of commercial insurance versus Medicaid. With this new GEMT program, I'm hoping that the Medicaid will actually kind of help offset some of this stuff a little bit better than it has, because currently we only collect in the ballpark of $166 per transport, yet it costs the city about just shy of $1,100 per call. Looking at utility rates that I found on the coast, Aberdeen is currently at $22.80. Hoquiam is $19.23, and Ocean Shores raised their rate from $7.48 to $19.03 in 1 year. More locally, as we're the only fire department member that provides ambulance service in Yakima County altogether. So our closest sort of like organizations are pretty much the Tri-Cities. We do not operate in a vacuum, as I said before. We have to pay the same amount of money for fuel. Their fire department union contracts are comparables for our union. So labor and all our overhead is pretty much identical. But using their studies that are a little bit more recent, Pasco, with a population that's similarly homogenous to ours, their recommended rate study was for 2018 was $14.90, somewhere between $14.98 with a maximum of $26.84 if they wanted 100% cost recovery. The city of Kennewick, their recommendation for 100% for a full cost recovery was $22.13 in 2019. We did discuss some of this with some of the organizations from the Tri-Cities at the seminar in Tukwila last week, and they are all basically informed me that they'll be in the mid-15, 16 range as well, where we're going to kind of asking. A little bit farther out we looked at was the city of Walla Walla. They, unlike us, they have a fire levy, so a good portion of their operation is funded through fire tax. They had two options. Their recommendation, whether they transport, whether they go outside the city limits or not, was a high of $20.51 rather. And if to stay in the status quo with their current operations, doing transports inside the city and out of the city limits, is $13.42. And we have to remember that going outside the city limits generates revenue, and that helps offset the cost of the system overall to the local residents in the city. If we only did service in the city limits, it would just, our costs don't really go down, and they just spread over a fewer number of people, and we don't offset our expenses with revenue that's generated outside the city limits. So basically, I genuinely feel that right now, raising the rate to just shy of double what it is, was a $16.54, I believe it was. It's really probably our best option. Had we, interestingly, had the the rate been increased as recommended in 2012 to $8.76, and then using the 6% maximum that city manager can raise the rate without councilmatic approval, we would currently be right now at $13.96 already. So we're a ways off from probably where we should be.
Is there any discussion? Yes, Mr. Borsman.
Yes, Madam Mayor, it just seems to me that as a city, we're kind of in the habit of forgetting that we have the opportunity to raise rates every once in a while and make adjustments. We talk about many times having automatic rate increases for different things and having automatic money put away for purchase of vehicles or other things that are necessary. And we frequently either forget to do it or find ourselves in an economic situation where we can't. I think this is an opportunity for us to make up some ground. But we've also got to be mindful that we do have opportunities to, in the future, keep ourselves level with where we should be, as opposed to playing catch up every 6 or 8 years.
Thank you. Anyone else? What is the desire of the council?
I'd like to move to approve to adopt ordinance amending section 13.32.080 of Sunnyside Municipal pertaining base utility charges for the ambulance utility fund.
I'll second that.
Mr. Borsman seconds. Mr. Henry makes the motion. Mr. Borsman seconds. Is there any further debate? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Mr. Stoner votes no. I too vote aye. Motion carries. Right, moving on to item C, operational fees for fire and life safety inspections. Just want to note that these are, again, as we mentioned with the utility rate adjustment, these are revenues. Changes in the fire fees for fire and life safety inspections. But I think you guys can explain it a little bit better, so Mr. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, Council, if I may, let Chief Anderson speak on his.
You can shorten it up a little bit if you like.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I had to, there's a lot of papers here.
I see that. That's what I was mentioning now.
Thank you, council members. Basically, I answered, I thought we kind of asked if we had questions on this. This basically what this was we are required to provide annual fire inspections and pre-fire plans for every commercial occupancy in the city limits. We are unable to do that at this time. We've actually been there probably a couple years behind. Moving forward, in order to make it a safer city, one of the things is fire prevention. And so we really would like to sort of find the funding so that we can actually move forward and actually get caught up on this. Part of this is administrative fees. We also, in this is with this fees where, and it's a nominal fee based on square footage with the $42 for the majority of business occupancies in the city limits. Additionally, though, however, one of the things that we were that I recommended is that we allow some of our smaller and very safe businesses to enter into a optional self-inspection program. That's just a smaller fee, but it's convenient and it would actually get us caught up. Basically, this money would go directly to the general fund, so overall it would it would improve our revenue that helps citywide. It's not just for the fire department. Any questions?
Any questions for the chief?
The last thing, I think you explained it very well as far as the benefits of this. So, yeah, I'm in favor of it.
Thank you.
So, is there any other questions or comments? And, so then, what is the desire of the council?
Motion to approve. So second it.
Okay. There was a murmur there, and it kind of went right by me. So, Mr. Hicks? No, Mr. Henry.
Nope. Mr. Hicks got it. Hicks is on it.
Guerrero moved, I seconded.
Okay, does that work for you?
Yeah.
Either
way works.
Okay, Mr. Guerrero says, makes the motion. Mr. Hicks seconds the motion. Is there any further debate? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side. I too vote aye. Motion carries. I believe this next one is about emergency response cost recovery fees, again with fees which translates to revenue. Mr. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, Council, again, I'd like to allow Chief Anderson to speak on this.
All right, so this one is just a recap. This is basically right now there's currently, this was not a real necessary move on our part. I was trying to establish a fee schedule. Basically under Washington state law, it's a little bit ambivalent whether or not we can charge for some of our services. There are a couple laws that are on the books. RCW 4.24.314 allows fire departments and emergency services to actually collect response fees for hazardous material spills, which include motor vehicle crashes that result in fluids on the roadway. It's already established. We just haven't been doing it, and that was part of one of these things. Those fees go on to a liability portion of every automobile insurance policy. Although I guess some people don't have insurance, the goal of this was to just capture that portion of the insurance. There was not an intent to actually bill any citizens directly as a result of this, except in the situation that they did something that's basically illegal and were convicted or ordered by a judge to do so, which basically would be through restitution. Other than that, it's we figured that it would. We did get a quote from a company that actually went in and did a study of our 2017 call volumes. They anticipated that the collection rate would be somewhere along the lines of an additional $65,000. With their portion off would have been $52,000, but right now our goal is to just do send these invoices in-house at this time. So basically, I don't know, I think it's a little high personally, but the best case scenario is $65,000. Additionally, this would go into the general fund and help the city overall as far as revenue. All right, questions?
Any questions for the chief? Okay. What is the desire of the council?
Move to approve.
Mr. Henry moves to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Boersma seconds. Any further debate? Hearing none. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same side. I too vote aye. Motion carries. There's some possibility of some revenue then for the town that we weren't maybe anticipating, but certainly I think we worked into our configurations. Moving on to the stormwater utility rate increase, adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 13 of Sunnyside Municipal Code to increase the stormwater fees and update the chapter title. City Manager.
Madam Mayor, again, I'd like to. No, I'm just kidding. Fisher. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Day, Mayor, members of the council. Basically, we went through this last week. What this is it's an amendment to the ordinance for stormwater fees. We talked briefly about, based our obligations to our permit and having to stay up with our revenues in that fund, and it hasn't been. I think we discussed a little bit last week about what had happened to that utility in years past, and it has never really recovered since then. It is sustainable the way that it currently is, but it's not staffed properly. According to our permit, we should be able to staff that to do all of our maintenance, capital improvements, buy equipment and whatnot. Right now we have one full-time employee, and basically we borrow equipment from the wastewater plant. So the idea is to be able to capture enough revenue to have two full-time employees in stormwater, and to get ahead of our permit. We've got some requirements coming down the pike from Ecology here in the next year or two when the next round of permits comes out. The idea is to
rated increase in $1.90 per month per parcel, and basically that's to every parcel in Sunnyside. Obviously, next year we're going to be doing a stormwater utility rate study to look at the commercial and industrial properties, which are part of this. They get charged this $3.75, but they are not being charged as they should be, and as part of that rate study, we'll determine that. So the increase we're talking about tonight will help us get there and help us get ahead of this. If I can answer any questions with that.
Are there any other questions for Mr. Fisher?
When will we have our study done?
We're not going to start until January. We had a budgeted. Actually, we had the water and sewer rate studies for this year and stormwater all together. We held off on the stormwater one just for revenue purposes or for expenditure purposes, I guess. And we looked and we pushed that basically into 2019 to get that done. So I'm thinking by March.
Yes, sir. Close to that time, we'll get something to approve or to.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Once we get to that point where we have them start, with this approved budget going forward, in 2019, we'll turn HLA loose on it, and then I'll bring updates to you guys as far as where we're at on it.
Thank you.
I had a quick question. You said $1.90 increase would get us there. What would it take to get us above there?
Well, we don't really know yet. Once we get the rate study done, which also is going to capture the capital improvement portion of what needs to be done, and not knowing what the new permit looks like yet, we don't know exactly what part of those capital improvements we're going to have to capture. Mm-hmm. So right now it's kind of a moving target. We don't really know yet. All we're really trying to do with this $1.90 is to try to get enough FTE so we can properly maintain the system. Right now the system is basically being maintained by 2 full-time employees, but they're split. One's wastewater and one's stormwater. And they're having to basically clean about 100 miles of pipe every year. About 50 miles of stormwater, about 50 miles of sewer collection pipe. So that's a lot of pipe for basically 2 FTEs in one truck. So the idea is to capture enough revenue, to get another FTE in that position, and buy a Vector truck and be able to maintain it as we are required by the permit.
Mm-hmm. Madam Mayor, thank you.
Did that answer your question?
It did, thank you.
Yes, Mr. City Manager.
I did. Was there another council member?
Anybody? No? Okay.
I just wanted to let you know that stormwater retention and cleaning is going to continue to go up in cost. Okay. You've got systems in place that really are old wooden stave pipes in some areas still. Absolutely. Eventually, the regulations are going to be such that we will have to completely rebuild this system. It's going to get very expensive. Okay. This is only the beginning. Okay. It's going to go up because we have to maintain when our storm waters run down our paved streets and get oils and stuff, we will be required to clean that before it goes into the creeks and into the Yakima River eventually. Okay. So this is just the beginning, and Shane and I are looking at this and watching it and trying to do the best we can. As Shane reported, I believe 2 weeks ago, when we piped the 16th Street ditch there from YVH to Edison, a big portion of that cleanup of that piping job was to put in pre-treatment. I can't remember what they call it, structures. We combined an ungodly number of them into 1 or 2, I think, and I can't remember enough for sure, but they're expensive, and this is on its way. Okay, so it's not going to happen this year, maybe, but it will start happening, and the cost will be borne by the property owners in the city. So.
Mr. Hicks.
Mr. Fisher, you said by March we're going to have a study on stormwater?
That's what we're hoping for. We should start in January. I've already talked with Ted Pooler with HLA. He's waiting for the new budget to get approved. And then I basically will bring a task order to you guys at that point. It's sitting on my desk right now in draft format. So once me and Don will sit down and take a look at that before he rides off into the sunset. And we'll take a look at that and then get that in front of you sometime in January.
Any other questions for Mr. Fisher? What is the decision of the council on this matter?
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Boersma, seconded by Mr. Henry to approve. Any further debate? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? I too vote aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Last of our rate increase fees is the utility B&O tax rate increase. Adopt an ordinance amending section 04.060 of the Sunnyside Municipal Code pertaining to tax rates for water, sewer, and garbage services. Mr. City Manager, you would.
Madam Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen, if I may allow Ms. Alba to discuss this one. This is about your business and occupation tax.
Thank you, Mr. Day and Council. As discussed last week, this would take our current rate of 19% up to 29%. So that is a 10% increase. And as with we've talked about with other rates, if we had done this incrementally, we would be in a better situation and not have to take such a big bite of the pie this time. And B&O tax rates are one of the few places we are not limited on what we can take. Property taxes are limited to 1%. Sales taxes are currently at the top at 7.9. We cannot collect any more unless we encounter more expenditures. This rate is comparable to other cities. We've done analysis. Other cities have rates up to 38% and as low as about 18%. So we currently are on the lower end. I hope we never have to go to 38%, but I would like to encourage council to look at this, and then we will, in the finance department, we've actually created items that are supposed to be looked at every year for rate increases, so we don't go back to the we forgot or we did not bring it forward. We've actually created folders, have all of the information in here, and it's all ready for the 2020 budget season.
Okay. Any other questions for Ms. Sullivan?
Can you remind us what was the increase going to be like on the regular standard water bill?
I did not bring that information with me. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, but it seems like the tax increase was about $3, if I remember. So it's $18 all overall, all the rates.
From all three, I think all three.
It was for everything increase and the tax rate increase was $18.
FC's was just a little over $18. It was an increase to the total.
On a bill of 140, I think, if I remember correctly.
Right. Okay. What would the council like to do with this particular rate increase?
Move to approve tax rate increase.
Mr. Henry.
I'll second.
Mr. Henry makes the motion. Mr. Boersma seconds. Is there any further debate? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Mr. Strimler and Mr. Guerrero vote no. I too vote aye. In the yes category. So that's motion carries. Now those are the revenues. Those are going to be in the revenues. Those, a lot of them that are going into the general fund will have there. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them will be going into the general fund. And some of the others will be going into the stormwater will be going into the stormwater. Obviously, some of the water will be going into the water and the sewer and back into the garbage. Some of that. So those revenues are pretty much standard for those particular places. Am I correct on that?
Madam Mayor, that is correct.
All right. So, at this point, we have items from council members regarding. I don't have any appointments for boards or commissions this evening. We did have a meeting between Mr. Estucci, Mr. Boersma, and myself, and Mr. Day regarding the community development ordinance, which we have. So we met and talked about that. Mr. Boersma, would you like to just bring him up to speed on that?
you, Madam Mayor. We have my notes with me, but
That's why I put you in, because I didn't either. Yeah, that's all right.
5 minutes of heads up would have been great.
I didn't have that, so I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine. So we met this past week, or last week, and we talked about the community development ordinance. This is something that was brought up. It's been in existence for quite some time, but it somehow managed to get, I don't want to say lost, but misplaced maybe. And we, fortunately, somebody brought it up and sent staff looking for it, and it was eventually found. It's been with legal, and they're taking a look at it, and they want to finalize some things, but we had a discussion about it. One of the things that was brought up is that we've got to be kind of careful how we promise that we're going to apply that, because it only applies to certain things. It applies to a certain portion of utility and that sort of thing. It obviously doesn't help with the construction of a new facility or an add-on of a facility or anything like that. Another thing to keep in mind is only applicable to new business or business coming into town. It's not applicable to residential developments or anything like that. But I think we had a pretty good discussion as a committee. One of the things that we did say is this particular subcommittee can look at the applications. I think it would function very much similar to the LTAC, where we would look at applications and make recommendations to the council as a whole and move forward that way. Have I forgotten anything?
I think it covers it pretty clearly. One of the things we wanted to do is to make sure as an ordinance that it didn't get lost again, that we would have a better chance of finding it should we go looking for it. But as Mr. Boisman said, the type of community development that we'd be able to provide could only be, say if it was city, water, sewer lines that would go up to the property. It would not be something that would go on to the property of a private individual or company. So we wanted to be very clear about that. That's what it was developed to be, and that's what we would continue to be. Anything more than that would be gifting of public monies, and we're not allowed to do that. So I think that we were in agreement that we would serve as a review board, but then we would bring it to the council for, any projects. And there may not be very many of those coming forth to us in any given year, but we would be prepared to review those and bring it to the council for council's approval. But we did get that sent out, and we should have that ordinance, if I recall. We were hoping to have it for the next meeting, I think.
Madam Mayor, I believe that's correct. I contacted Bill, and he is drafting the ordinance, finishing it out. And again, the question was, how do you want the process to follow? Do you want to do it as a city council, or did you want to create a new commission? I believe it's the committee's opinion is to have that fall on the committee for first review, and then the committee brings it forward to council. So he's drafting that up now. I believe he can have it done by the 26th of November, so we should be able to read that. And just for clarification, it was a resolution in its previous state, and so we just want to codify it as an ordinance so that it, and then reference the resolution so we can find it next time.
So we don't have to search once a month. We just go to, what is it, Mr. Estucci likes to say, the SMC.6677889.0. So we'll have it be able to earmark it a little bit better. I don't think we had any, did we have any other committee reports? Anyone been to anything recently that we need to report on?
I'm going to the drive meeting tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
So next meeting we hear, I'll have a report for you guys.
Okay.
You good?
I've been asked to apply to be on the Yakima County Health District some board, and so I've submitted an application for that. Probably be just a formality to say, sure, you can be on it, but they wanted an application to be on the County Health District.
You can be on it?
As a representative. Yeah, are you already?
You're in.
Are you already?
No. I'm saying if you were going to be on it. I had a question for after you get in, but.
Okay, so we're not going to be
doubling up. You're in.
Okay, I'll be in. I didn't want to get in trouble with that one. Okay, sir.
I got an email from the Drive committee that I guess we have dues that we pay every year to be part of that group. And I got an invoice, so I'm gonna forward to our city manager and find out if we already paid for it, or we still have to pay for it, or how does that work? This is the first time I'm on that committee, and I got an invoice, so I'm not sure what to do with it now. So,
Mr. Graf, you'll just send that to me in the morning. I'll take care of it. To my knowledge, it's already been paid for 2018. So I'm assuming it's
maybe for 2019 more likely.
Perhaps, I hope.
Okay, I'll forward it that way. If it's been paid, great. If not, then also we'll look into it. If it's something that has to be in our budget, obviously that's correct to put it in there, if anything.
Okay. All right. Okay. So, moving on to the council request status report.
We have any comments?
We're on it right now.
Well, you just said status report. I asked about items from the council. We were on.
Oh, you had something for questions? Yes, please do.
My wife brought something to my attention last week. I forget if it was Friday or Saturday. There was a very negative comment on Facebook about the fire department made by a Sunnyside police officer. There was a lot of follow-up comments, and it was misinformed more than anything else. It was Chief Anderson had made the case last meeting for the charging services that we just talked about, and the meeting was not recorded. The item was so unimportant I never even thought of it again, never mentioned to anybody else, but here all of a sudden it was on Facebook. So it had to come from somebody in the meeting here, being there was no recording of it. But there was a lot of negative comments made about it, upsetting comments. And it really revolved around misinformation. And so somehow misinformation got out into the police department, which then got put on Facebook. And I'd just like to make note of that Chief Anderson had a lot of blowback from a lot of people, which I felt was undue.
Any other items from council?
Question. Yes. So was it a police officer who did this, or?
Yeah.
So are you aware of that, Mr. Scalera? Chief Scalera? Okay. Will you mind looking into it? Please. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, anything else from any other council members? Okay, we'll move ahead then with the request. Council request status. I think the biggest one that's coming up is the retail standards. We know that we're going to be having the community meetings and the secret shoppers coming into town here in a few weeks. As part of the Roger Brooks survey of our community and how people think about the community and what kinds of things might be moving forward as we try to come up with some sort of an identity. So that's something we can. The date for the meeting itself, is that set for December 14th? Is that right?
Madam Mayor, with your permission, Roger Brooks will be here from the 10th through the 13th. We'll be here actually for 4 days. They will be doing some shopping, visiting with folks on the street. Then they will be on the 14th from 8:30 till 11. I'll double check the time. It might be 8 to 11. I can't remember now. I think it's 8:30 to 11. They will have a community forum at the fire department training room. This will be recorded for those that cannot attend. You can pull it up and watch it later. We'll put it up on our website. And basically, they're going to be just asking for additional input. He will be discussing what he sees, things that we can do to improve or enhance our tourists and economic opportunities in the community. And then after that, he'll gather some additional information at this community forum. He'll go back and put a written document together showing some examples and samples and ideas and findings that he has, so that the community can, again, this is not just the city. This is, for instance, a business. If I had a liquor store and wanted to try to improve my appearance, he might show me ways of doing that. If I had a vacant building, he might show us ways to enhance the sellability of that building or something of that nature. So there's going to be all kinds of different things he's going to be putting in this. And that'll come 60 to 90 days after December 14th.
It's going to be very exciting to hear what people are thinking and what kinds of comments they can give us maybe towards so that we can carry forward with some of the things we'd like to see happen not just in the outlying areas of Sunnyside, but certainly also in the downtown areas as well. So I'm very excited about that. I don't think we have anything new on the Romans Avenue. That's still pretty much status quo. And we just talked about the community development ordinance. We brought that back to council tonight, and the ordinance will be coming on the 22nd, so we're moving ahead on that particular request. I don't think there's anything happening with the handicap thing yet. We're still kind of waiting for Domino's Pizza to come over there and take care of that for us.
That's a big pothole. That's a lot of pizzas.
And that's a lot of pizzas. And the tree replacement plan, I think we've been talking about that.
I believe Mr. Fisher has a plan put together, kind of. We've discussed it. We want to put some trees and stuff along the path and start growing some more trees. And we will be having a discussion on one I saw downtown this morning that I'm worried about. I think we've got one that's going to be dying, so we'll be trying to replace that as quickly as we possibly can.
Of course, we have to remove it, right?
We got to remove it.
So this isn't the right time of year to actually be planting trees, I don't think, is it?
This is a good time to take them out.
Take them out. Okay. So that'll be first on the agenda then, right?
Yeah, that's next year.
Okay. So we'll start the planning next year?
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Restucci had on there the small cell 5G. He was meant to discuss it at the first community development meeting, but I don't believe that we had an opportunity to do that at the meeting we held. So we'll just have to meet again to go over that. I know he's very concerned about that, rightfully so, as I understand. And we are moving forward and thank you, Ms. Alba, for sending out some of those reports that you sent out to us already. The monthly budget position reports and quarterlies. We do expect to be having those at the first regular board meeting. First regular meeting of each month. So keep a clear eye on the ball. So thank you for that. Is there any other items from council that they'd like to have on the request status report? Any other items that we need to be looking at? Hearing none, I guess we'll move ahead. If you think of any, please get a hold of myself or Mr. Day. Mr. Guerrero here, and so we can get those on the request to look at here. There are council items and things that we can discuss in council, so obviously we need some things to discuss, so let's think of some things that we can go for. So Mr. City Manager, this agenda planning schedule.
Madam Mayor, Council, ladies and gentlemen, for November 19th, we will be having a budget workshop. That will be held here at 6:30 p.m. On November 26th. We will tentatively have the final budget, hopefully, and then the community development ordinance for final approval. And that's all I have so far. On December 3rd, you'll have a workshop for tiny houses. And it says once YVCOG has completed. I'm not sure if that means we won't do it if YVCOG is not completed their assessment. I'm not sure what that means.
I'm not entirely
sure. Check with the clerk. She probably knows what that means. So that apparently, when I read that, it looks like that is subject to change if we don't get the information from YVCOG.
As I recall, Mr. City Manager, that's kind of how we left it.
Okay.
We're trying to see what the county wanted to do before we moved ahead, so we're fighting the county on it. If they're going to invent the wheel, let's let them do it so we don't have to.
Very good. If we have nothing on the December 10th meeting, that will be your final meeting of the year. I don't believe we want to have. Excuse me, you do have a December 24th that's blocked out here, but we normally do not have meetings on Christmas.
On Christmas Eve?
So if you want to vote not to have a meeting on Christmas Eve, you can do that.
I guess it depends on how well the budget needs to go. So I think we leave it open for now.
That's a good call.
Because obviously we have some numbers to look at when we get that.
Okay, you come as Santa. I was just going to say, and somebody better come as a Grinch just in case. All right. Okay, well, I think that's good. So, that's all we have so far. Well, upcoming council meetings, we have mentioned the 19th is our special meeting, the 26th is regular meeting, and then the December 10th. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So items from city manager and department heads.
Madam Mayor, if I may refer to my department heads.
I have nothing else, thank you.
Oh, good. You had a lot already.
I have nothing further.
Mayor and Council, I would like to speak tonight to address a little bit of what's transpired in this meeting last week, and then also some items that I think really need to be talked about. So Dawn and I have come to an agreement that we need to work together to bring you a balanced budget, and the only way that's going to happen is if Dawn and I can sit down and look at the options I brought forward and then recommendations we have together as a team. I brought forward options that were my harebrained ideas or my good, bad, ugly ideas. They have turned the city and a lot of our citizens, not really against me, but against what I believe in, and I believe in this community. I believe in our police department, I believe in our fire department, and I believe in our ability to come together. So I want to tell you that we may not have every recommendation that I brought forward, but we will have recommendations for you. Dawn and I are going to continue to look at every item. And on that note, I will be bringing forward an ILA with Yakima County. We currently contract with them for IT services. We have scaled that back, and the ILA is a reduction of $65,000 to our contract. As a part of this reduction, it also will change our internet costs by $35,000 in 2018. So just by asking a question when someone talked about a contract to me, I was able to bring forward the cost savings of basically one person that's employed by the city. I think there are other places we can find cost savings. I do think 19 is going to be a tight budget, and I appreciate you approving the revenues tonight. But we really will never get to Christmas if we can't come together on this. And Dawn and I have made a commitment to work together in every avenue we can. So I wanted to bring that forward. And I wanted you to know that this isn't us against them. This isn't anything that has to do with I don't like this or I don't like that. What this is balancing the budget. And so I have dedicated that I will do everything I can to work with Dawn to get this budget balanced and bring forward something to you that is acceptable. And we both don't want to make personnel cuts if we don't have to. So I wanted to bring that forward to you and let you know we are looking at everything, and nothing is not going to go unturned, I guess you could say. We are trying to find the best way we can for the city to move forward. So I wanted to get that on the record and let you know that there are places we can make cuts, and they may not always be popular, but we are going to do the best we can.
I'd like to add, obviously, I want to thank you for having the courage, first of all, of bringing some of these ideas forward, because obviously it's not easy in your position and having the blowback that obviously tonight was an example of that. And at the end of the day, we have to make our budget balance, whether that means cutting positions, well, that's just what's going to happen. Whether that means increasing taxes, which we're already doing, but that's going to happen also. So it has to be a balanced take on it. We cannot just say, just not cut nobody and don't increase taxes. So we're doing a little bit of both. We increase a little bit of taxes and we still have to look at potentially cutting some positions if it makes sense. At the end of the day, we're not going to keep a position just for the sake of keeping a position. You know, yes, it's an individual; they have families, but guess what? If we don't make those tough calls, we could be right back in this position next year. We have to be cutting a lot more people next year than this year. So I really want to thank you for the courage that you took to actually bring those ideas forward, and I wish that more individuals were, you know, as courageous as you were. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have nothing. Thank you.
Madam Mayor, I have nothing else but Merry Christmas. The Christmas parade's on its way. It starts in the end of November. I can't remember the date now. For Sunday, 29th or something. It's the tree lighting ceremony, so I'd like to invite everybody to show up if you could. And then the Festival of Trees is on Friday night. The Children's Parade will be on Friday night. And of course, a lot of events going on Saturday as well. And the public is invited to the Festival of Trees, the community center, for some hot chocolate and cookies and some other events and decorating and stuff like that. So they're keeping the community center open for the public on Saturday. And then, of course, our famous Lighted Farm Implement Parade will be Saturday night, December 1st. So I'd like to encourage everybody to show up. December 26th, the beard comes off.
Pictures of the shaving. That's what I want to see, is pictures of the shaving.
That's all I have to
I did want to mention also that this Saturday is the first community center Thanksgiving dinner that's happening out at the community center, obviously, at 1521 South First Street. As I understand it, there's lots of turkey, and there's lots of people volunteering to help. And I got a couple people from in the back row that said that they would help volunteer with serving and setup if we need some helpers. So let me put you in touch. Elizabeth, could you please tell us a little bit more about that turkey dinner on Saturday, please?
With your permission. Quite frankly, it came quite as a surprise to me when Lander brought it forward that we had 20 turkeys that were being donated and ready to be dispersed and cooked. And when I found out that we needed a health permit and many other things, we decided that maybe there was a little something more that needed to happen. So we were very thankful that Roger with Bombinos volunteered to cook, cut, and deliver all those turkeys. So we will have lots of turkeys, sides, and anyone that would like to come, we will be at the community center starting at 8 a.m. to start preparing things and getting things set up. We're trying not to overload people, so if you would want to come from 8 to 10 or 8 to 11, we'll take you all day or a partial day. If you show up at 12:30, we'll put a serving spoon in your hand, and you can get in line. If you can't make it until later that day, until 3:30, we'll take you from 3:30 to 5:30 for cleanup. So really, anytime you show up, I will put you to work and have a spot for you. There are lots of jobs, and I hope the community turns out. We'd like this to become an annual thing again. Sunnyside used to do this in the past, so we want to bring back those gathering items for our community and get people together.
That's this Saturday?
This Saturday from 1 to 4, if you're just coming to partake and enjoy company of other people in town. If you'd like to volunteer, I will put gloves on your hands and serving spoons and all kinds of stuff.
A couple of people in the back there that I know. Raise your hand. Yeah. and several other members of his family are also interested in helping with that. So.
Very good. We'll take it.
And I know that the Lions are going to be helping with the beans and potatoes and gravy. I'm just stirring. I'm not actually cooking, so don't be scared. I'm just stirring things. So that's my job. I don't cook. I'm telling you, I just don't cook. Yes, Mr. Hicks.
Just for the record, I may or may not be able to attend the 19th meeting.
Okay.
The workshop.
Job stuff.
Maybe.
Maybe job. Maybe just taking a vacation day. Yeah, okay. Looking for an excuse there. Okay.
Even options. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. The rest of you can be there, be there. All right. If there's nothing further to come before this board, move the meeting be adjourned. Without objection.